We have got the new updated tank tier list officer update. Now, as I mentioned before in my previous one, this is my personal opinion. I'm not the greatest of tank mains. I will make myself clear with that. I do have a secondary ult account, which is a tank main account. But again, I don't really use it to the extent in which I use my main. I do obviously focus on the artillery side. So, with that being said, we're going to jump straight in, guys. And as you can notice here, I've put all of the starter officers at the front because I'm going to rate them for the fact if you're a brand new player. So, if you're a brand new player, I'm going to rank these sort of officers, but then we'll move them down afterwards. If you don't care about this very starter bit, you can hit the timestamp below to go straight into the newer and more updated officers. So starting off, guys, we have got the very first pay-to-win officer that you can buy in this game. And quite honestly, early game, he's a pretty sort of A to S tier early game. Moving on, War Machine, who is also kind of an A tier and close to being S tier when it comes to early game playing. Moving on, I'm just going to kind of put all of these in how I think they are early game. So again, this is purely based on the fact that they're the ones you get right at the start of the game. Everyone has them. Should you really be using them? Probably not. I'm pretty sure this is the early game stats on how good an officer can be, and quite honestly, this would be how I set it up. In fact, I feel like I should put that person there, and maybe even this person here. And the reason for this early game, in fact, because you have to pay for him, I'm actually going to put him in B tier, because obviously once you paid for him, you've spent money to get him. After the first starter, when you start unlocking all the new officers, he's basically going to be useless. So you'd be wasting money. So for that, he might even go in D tier. This is just my personal opinion. If you're brand new to the game, you know, these officers are great. Most of these officers you get for free anyway. This one you don't, so, you know, and this one you don't. Him you can get for free from the store, but it's not needed. You could definitely get some nice skill training. But these three officers here are completely free. And honestly, early game, this is amazing. So this is what I'm going to stick with early game. Now, let's re-rank them in my personal opinion. F is just you don't ever need them. If I'm honest with you guys, you don't really need any of these. Go D tier for pretty much. We'll keep this one here. So I would say this is how it's going to be now. Moving on if you're brand new. So guys, welcome back if you skipped through to the next section. Here is sort of where we're going to be at now. So I personally don't think you ever need to worry about these. With that being said, guys, moving on straight into S tier. Havoc is still one of the best skill tank officers on the game. Absolutely amazing, and she definitely belongs in S tier. This guy here, now I've actually seen a few people say that they really like him, but you can't physically get him anymore. So from that, I think he belongs in C tier, just for the fact you can't get him. And if you was lucky enough to get him back in the day, he's definitely outused now. No one really uses him if they are a tank main, and even if they have them, because there's just better officers now. So I'm going to actually keep him in C tier. Now, the reason War Machine, technically this officer is slightly better, but again, you can't get him if you wasn't around in the game at the time. So therefore, because you can still get this officer, I'm going to rank him higher in my personal opinion. Moving on, we have got pretty much one of the best tanking officers in the game, whether it be on your MB for field sort of defense, whether it be for tanking and sieging a base. Honestly, absolutely amazing officer when it comes to defense. Without a shout, you guys know that Phoenix is going to be an S tier. She's one of the best crit officers in the game. Moving on, we have also got absolute amazing output of damage, buffing any unit you put him on, basically. He works, he's one of the most versatile officers, but because he works perfectly well on tanks, and a lot of people use him on tanks, he's going to be going straight into S tier as well. I feel like there is going to be a lot of S tier officers in this, but some of them are just amazing in their own retrospective fields. Now, with that being said, this officer here, which is Still Fighter. Still Fighter isn't the craziest of tank officers anymore. She's definitely outdated when it comes to like sieging bases, in the field. She's just not a good officer, but she does have a garrison defense giving you 30% skill damage resist, and that skill alone is carrying her up to A tier. I myself, who is an artillery main, still uses her as a tank officer, even though I don't even own a tank. So yeah, she's still a very, very good officer, especially in that sort of defensive field situation. Now, Professor Payne. Guys, Professor Payne, if you've watched my artillery officer video, ranking tier list, he is basically the same version of Saber. I think he is the first ever tank officer that came out for Lounge. Back when he came out, straight into S tier. Amazing. Yeah, he's fallen off now. Unfortunately, you know, as we could tell just by looking at his profile picture, he's getting a bit of age. He's getting a bit old now. He's retired. He's no longer the greatest. Obviously, if it's all you have, he's still going to be good. He's still going to be... The reason he's in A tier is he will still be better than the majority of officers that are just coming out now are slowly starting to overtake him, is what I mean. So, he's still okay. Belongs in A tier. Definitely doesn't belong in B tier, but he is no longer an S tier officer. Moving on, we have got Lady Shadow. Lady Shadow is just absolutely insane. She is by far one of the best officers of the game, and the fact that she's versatile, she works on all units, she's crazy. I still don't have her on my main account with my artillery, but I do have her on my alt account, which obviously is a tank account main. And yeah, she shreds, guys. Absolutely amazing. Moving on, this is actually going to be a really hard one to rank, because I actually think he belongs in S tier right now. Right now, he is amazing. He works on all units. He is slightly better on a helicopter than he is on an MB, but they did change his skill to the point where his awakened skill actually does work on an MB now, and I believe at the start it didn't. There were some things with how it worked, and obviously the whole controversy around him was because his skills got changed. A lot of people were not too happy about that. But at the same time, I do believe that he would definitely be like low-end S tier going into like the best of the A tiers. I do think that overall, he can take that top spot, especially if you're a tank main. The dodge, he has crit, he reduces the damage resist of enemies, he has overall just a nice amount of output of damage. I think he belongs in us tier, me personally. I do want to make this clear to anyone who is watching that just because you're first in the S tier does not mean you're the best officer. Obviously, this officer is technically better than her. It's just S tier is S tier, A tier is A tier. I'm not doing like front to back of who is the best in the S tier. We're not doing any of that. Just simply where they belong for their respected levels. Now, moving on to Lady Justice. Lady Justice, I feel like if you're a tank main and you have 5 tanks, she might be classed as like an A tier at that point, because she's going to be the best out of the options you have. But let's be real, guys. I think she is, in retrospect, a B tier. She's definitely an okay officer. She is versatile, so technically she can work anywhere, but definitely is a tank main if you think of the skills that she has. I would say she's B tier, and the reason for it is because Professor Payne is much better than her. So, like, do I think that she belongs with Professor Payne? Not really. That's why I'm putting her the tier below, personally. Here we have Thorn. Now, Thorn, when she came out, was pretty S tier. Amazing at tanking a base. Brilliant base defense. She moved down to an A tier now. Well, when I say now, I mean recently, because she's just really not a field officer anymore. There's definitely so much better options out there. And unfortunately to say this, guys, I think she is now fallen down to a B tier, because she's just not even that good in base defense unless you are an absolute whale. If you're an absolute whale, she's amazing. But if you're not an absolute whale, then her base shield doesn't really provide much anymore. Maybe an extra, like, a couple, maybe even up to maximum 100 mil base HP added on. But if I'm honest with you guys, it's just not worth it. Having that extra output of damage or the base skill resist from other officers is going to be a better option. Moving on, we have got Vox. Vox, I think, still belongs in A tier. She has really good, just again from that defense point of view. She was ranked the same over on the artillery video. I believe she was an A. Maybe I put her in a B, but that is just, she has such crazy defense. Moving on, we have got Eagle. Eagle, guys, is a tricky one, because I think on a tank, for example, a light tank, or maybe even MB, he's still decent. Is he going to be anything crazy? The thing is, I don't want to put him in B tier, because here's the thing. B tier is hard, because I feel like having him in B tier, he needs to move down to C tier. I would say she is better than him on a tank, right? So I feel more comfortable with this setup here, in my personal opinion. That looks better. I think he was throwing me off being in B tier. So this now has the opportunity to go like this. But overall, I think needs to stay there, in my personal opinion. Moving on, we have got Iron. Iron is by far, as a free-to-play person, he is S tier. If you are pay to win, technically he'd be A tier. But we're going to keep him in S tier for now, because the majority of people on this game are free to play. So he's definitely an S tier officer. Paired up with this officer here, these two together are just the best in the game right now when attacking a base. And funny enough, the next one here is if you are a pay-to-win person, this is how it would look, because Arbitrator is the best pairing when it comes to tanking a base. But if you are free to play, then you'd use these two. But if you're pay to win, you'd use these two. So therefore, that's the only time it changes down. So all three of these are currently the best meta for tanking a base. Absolutely amazing, really strong, and crazy survivability. Another S tier coming straight in. I didn't realize we had so many S tiers in a row. But we have got Jaeger. Jaeger is the newest and most up-to-date crit officer that is available. Absolute menace on tanks when it comes to crit builds. Obviously, a lot of people pair these two together because they just overload on the crit. But again, there's many different builds you can get out there. But right now, 100% definitely belongs in S tier. Now, with that being said, we have got a brand new officer, which I think currently is an A tier. Definitely very, very nice when paired with certain people. Being able to double up the sort of dodge rate, being able to obviously delay, say, skills going off and stuff to get your skill off first. Overall, she just has a really nice versatility to her. She's obviously not the strongest officer in the game, but she's definitely has her perks and really good niche abilities for her. Moving on, we have got someone who genuinely just isn't that good anymore, guys. He's still good to the term of, you know, if you don't have the newest of officers. But overall, he's just kind of retired now, guys. He's no longer that crazy, in my personal opinion, when you compare him to some of the newer officers available. Now, we have got Uncle. Uncle, again, is when it comes to that field fighting, when it comes to... I mean, even in field, he's okay as maybe a last sort of event hybrid style unit. Maybe even a last minute sort of defensive unit in the field. But overall, guys, he's mainly the reason he's in A tier is going to be the same reason why Steel Fighter's here. Uncle has 40% reduction to skills on your base. So even if you're an artillery main like myself, who doesn't even own a single tank, he is still going to be used in my setup. So with that being said, I think that because of that defense alone, he belongs in A tier. Moving on, we have got Lord of Order. I think Lord of Order, guys, is the same as Professor Pain. Now, obviously, he was the second tank officer to come out for Lounge. I'm pretty sure he's basically retiring now. Slowly but surely, the newer officers that are coming out are better than him, but he's definitely still good. 100% would rather have him than any of these B tiers, for example. He's really good, but if you do not have him, there's no point working on him anymore. Moving on, we have got Whipcracker. Now, Whipcracker for me she's an okay officer, guys. Nothing crazy. Definitely B tier. Do I think that she needs to be used in any way, shape, or form? No, you don't need to work on her at all. She's definitely outdated now. But in her prime, maybe she would have been an A tier when she first came out. But even then, definitely, I don't think at any point would I have put her in an S tier, personally. Same thing here. This is Bomb Princess. Bomb Princess was a duo collab with these. And overall, they're just your average tank officer. They're nothing crazy. When they first came out, maybe they had a little bit of an edge, but nothing that's going to stick around. They're definitely not worth any more, in my personal opinion. And obviously, even if you are new to the game, you physically can't get them. Moving on to Rapier. Now, guys, Rapier, it's for me. I don't know how to rank Rapier. For me, he's an S tier because free to play, I think he belongs S tier 100%. I was debating because obviously you have these two crits. Is he going to also match them? Well, yes, because these two are Lounge. Now, if he was a Lounge as well, then he would be in A tier. But he's not. He's free to play. So from the purest perspective of the fact that he is free to play, he belongs in S tier. He's the best crit officer free to play that's currently in the game. The only thing I might change is put him into D tier because he's the best of the worst, you know, especially with the fact that you can get him for free from the Lounge. And finally, guys, we have got Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie is kind of an A tier, but very slowly she's started to move down to B tier. Now, obviously, when she first ever came out, she was S tier, 100% undoubtedly. And she's definitely at least an A tier now. And I feel bad putting her in B tier because I would rather Valkyrie than Lady Justice, in my personal opinion. So I think I'm going to keep her in A tier, personally. She's definitely not the worst, but she's not the best. She's slowly but surely retiring. I feel like I have to. When it comes to like a helicopter, he's a little bit more versatile. but she's obviously Heli main, but she does work on other units. I'm happy keeping her in A. Overall, I think that this is a solid tier list in my personal opinion. Obviously, everything is personal. I'm generally curious to see what your opinion is, guys. So what I would like you to do is use the link down below to make your tier list, and then please send them into Discord. The link to the Discord is also down below, and I'd love to see what everyone else's opinion is with their tier list. Obviously, everyone has a different opinion, and I'd love to be able to see and maybe get some explanation. Maybe you put this officer, for example, in S tier. I'd love to know why. But, you know, everyone's unique and has their own setup, so I'd love to see your build. So make sure you come and send them into the Discord. As always, I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in. If you haven't done so, think about liking the video. Think about sharing it out to your friends, your alliance, your other servers you're in. And I appreciate you all. Hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.